Welcome back, everybody, to the Chip Lunch Podcast. My name is Joel.
Hi, Joel.
I have Ethan with me, who
Hello, everybody
looks
else.
like a woman from from Bible times. Yep.
Hello.
It's the woman at the well.
That's good.
That's good.
That's good. And the voice you can hear is Zach McCall, who is joining us on the Chip Lunch Podcast
Boys,
as our special guest this week. Welcome.
Welcome.
You have a new
Good to
job,
be
so
here.
you're able to be a little bit
flexible.
more flexible.
Yeah,
flexible.
yeah.
Do you feel flexible?
Very flexible, very nimble
You
this
straight-
morning.
Is it a yoga teacher?
yeah. Pilates. Actually.
Oh, Pilates, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm.
No, good to be here. Long time listener. First time attendee.
Yeah, not calling
Yeah,
Yeah.
no.
unless he gets a business call.
Yeah.
Buy, sell. He's just doing, I'm just doing deals.
Yeah.
All the time.
All the time.
I've seen this video where it's like, it's a comedy video, and this one's like, I used to be broke, but now I own the city. Like,
Have you seen the one where it's like, this is my day? You know, between 7 a.m. and 9 a.m. I do this, and this, and then by 9 a.m. to 12 p.m. I do this, and this, and then that's day one. And then day two is 12.
I love that video.
I fit 3 days into one day. Like, no, you haven't.
I'd like to see that.
I'll
That sounds
send you
good.
it. It's
Yeah,
hilarious.
it's a great
I don't
video.
think I've seen it.
It's really funny.
Yes, I was commenting on your corduroy jacket. Is that warm?
It is warm, quite thick.
Quite thick.
Yeah.
Only a t-shirt underneath.
Just a t-shirt.
Yep.
Nothing else underneath the t-shirt.
I was like, I'll let you do that joke. I wasn't going to do it because if I did, it sounded creepy.
I think
And the reason-
I should get myself a quarter.
The reason that you look like the woman in the well is
Well, I don't know if
Ethan.
Eck will keep it in the cut or not, because I don't know if we were recording, but I had a noisy
You have a
jacket.
noisy jacket.
And so I've taken the noisy jacket off and am now cosplaying as a woman from Bible times. That's when you dress up as a character from a book, right? It's cosplay.
Is that what it is?
Yeah.
Okay.
Or not, it doesn't have to be a book. It can be all sorts of things.
Oh yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
If you weren't going to be the woman in the well, or woman at the well, what character would you dress up
Oh, what, from the Bible?
as? You need from any book.
Oh, right.
You need to think of your own too, Zach.
Okay.
while you're-
Well, okay, this isn't from a book, but Katie came home the other day. Katie's my wife, and she had gone to Vinnie's, and at Vinnie's found a Spider-Man costume for $4. And so now I have a Spider-Man costume, and I haven't had an opportunity to wear it yet, but that's my go-to.
As if you put it on straight away.
Oh yeah, sorry.
And
sorry.
then you're like, jumping on the wall.
Other than the jumping on the walls at home, I haven't had an opportunity to wear it out yet. And honestly, Joel, you know me very well because that's exactly what I did. Totally.
And then like Katie's immediately regretting it.
Yeah, fully. She was like, "Oh, Ethan, you're an idiot." I think I have footage of me jumping on a wall because she was like, "What are you doing?" Immediately climbing things.
Zach, what character do you dress up as?
In the Bible.
Oh, it can be anything, but you can choose the Bible if you want.
Okay.
He's like Solomon, richest,
I
and
always-
most powerful dude.
Spider-Man.
I always like group dress ups.
Oh
So I feel like I'd be a good like donkey, you know, like 1-2 person donkey.
Oh, the
yeah,
two
yeah.
person,
Yeah.
the front or the back.
Front for sure.
Yeah, I think you have to be at the front.
Yeah.
The back would be so uncomfortable.
That would be not fun.
Just be walking around bending over all the time. That's not going to work.
No.
No.
What's that called? Pantomime
Mm.
horse.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty funny.
Yeah.
That would be funny. I don't know who I'd dress up as.
I don't know who you dress up as.
I'm too busy.
No call sign. No, dress
call
up.
sign, no dress up. What is happening?
I don't give myself names.
I am Joel and nothing but Joel.
That's it. And then everyone
That's
else.
all of Canberra.
that probably says that's a real positive about your sense of self.
That's the only
Joel. I think it's really
positive,
good.
I'm trying to think. I'll have to because I was too busy razzing on your choices.
Well, if we ask Zach the first question,
Yeah,
by the time he finishes the first question,
Yep.
you can have a dress up in your mind,
sounds good.
or you could just be the front of the horse,
No,
Back of the horse.
No, back of the horse.
back of the horse. Yeah,
Yeah, I'll be the one
back.
that poops everywhere.
Yeah.
All right, you go. You ask the first question of Zach.
Zach, how do you have your hot chips?
Pretty standard, I think.
Yes, come on.
Hot chips with chicken salt.
Ugh.
Yeah. Loaded
I
with
love
chicken
that
salt.
that's-
Loaded.
Yeah, yeah.
I
And
feel
you're
like-
right, Zach. That is the standard.
I feel like that's a pretty
that is-
typical Australian response.
yeah, that is exactly what it is,
Yeah,
Joel.
and
It
most
is-
Australians are losers.
Yeah. Back in the day, and when I was in primary school, there was a hot chip shop in Grays Point.
Mhm.
You're
Mhm.
familiar with?
Oh, yes,
Ethan?
very.
Is that the one like at the top of the road to go down to Swallow Rock?
Yeah. Jimmy's.
Yep.
Affectionately called Jimmy's. It was the place to hang out in primary school. You just go down there after school
Yeah, cool.
and just sit on the white plastic chairs outside, order your chips,
yeah.
and you
Yeah.
get barbecue sauce. And then Jimmy himself would come out and just come and like splatter it on the side of the paper.
Yeah.
And
Oh,
so
why
that
did
was my go-to. But
Why
I don't
did he
really
do
do
that?
anymore. Pardon?
Why did he do that? It's just like his trick. His part.
Oh, he's just like, I'll just have hot chips and barbecue sauce, thanks, Jimmy. And he'd bring the hot chips out, and then he'd come with his bottle and
Yeah, and instead, so I don't. There mustn't have been little sachets or anything.
No,
They just he was
pre-sachet.
just like, yeah, I'll just come out and
there was
with
something
my massive bottle of barbecue sauce.
Yeah, his bottle of his sauce was delicious.
Oh,
There was something
like
something
special
going
sauce.
on there.
Mm.
I don't know if it was like he just never cleaned the bottle or something like that, but like it was like a particularly tasty barbecue sauce.
Mm.
So if it was to sauce up, it would be barbecue.
Yeah.
But I don't really do that anymore.
No?
No, just plain.
Oh, no
chicken salt.
sauce.
Just
No
chicken,
sauce.
no sauce.
Okay.
Very nice. That's,
Mm.
that's a good
cool.
chip shop.
It's cool that you were going there like on the reg from
Mm.
primary school.
I reckon most people who grew up in Grace Point will have that same.
Yeah,
Yeah, because you went to Grays
Story.
Point.
bit of a rite of
primary as well.
passage.
Yeah,
Mm.
totally. We'd do it all the time.
Mm.
Did you just walk there? Probably walk there from school, right?
Yeah. Easily.
There's a hilarious story where
Community
because it's
vibe.
no longer Jimmy's, it's Billy's.
Oh,
So
Jimmy to Billy.
Yeah.
Mm.
And one day, so Jimmy was passing it on to his friend Billy, and
Just one day.
yeah. I don't know why. I think Jimmy had to go back to the motherland. I don't know
Mm.
why. And Jimmy brought Billy.
What, Russia?
Jimmy brought Billy up to Grace Point Primary School to introduce Billy to the school and show him around the
Oh,
school.
really?
And, yeah.
He's like, because this is my main customers.
Yeah. And like intro him to the school and
Mm.
like this is who you meet. This is the principal and stuff. And like Jimmy walked into the school and it was like Michael Jordan walked into the school. Like honestly, it was
Jimmy!
yeah, it was fanfare. It was
That's
like
unreal.
Jimmy, and then he's like waving from the stairs. Honestly, it was unreal.
That's awesome.
It's so good.
That's huge. Which is really funny because it is still affectionately called Jimmy's.
Yes.
Like to this day, whether it's
Yes.
Billy or not. Yeah, which is so wild.
Mm.
Because I never like if that was the case, I missed it actually being owned by Jimmy.
Jimmy, yeah.
Like
Yeah.
it would have been
Oh, it
always
was Billy.
Yeah,
was
but it
Billy.
was still Jimmy's. Like that was just that's what we.
Oh,
called
you
it.
still called it? Right, yep. I see.
It doesn't have a name. It was just the chip shop, but we called it Jimmy's.
We're going to Jimmy's.
Going to Jimmy's.
Yeah, poor branding to be honest. But
Well, is it?
Missed
So,
opportunity
maybe
to
not.
slap a big Jimmy's sign.
Yeah,
on top.
totally.
Like, that would be awesome.
Yeah,
totally,
that would've been sick.
be unreal.
Yeah.
Alas,
At least it like it works when you say Jimmy's. It's like it's Jimmy's shop. I hate like I won't say hate. I can't stand it when people say Sizzlers. It's not Sizzlers. It's Sizzler. Get it right, bro. There's another one like that. I can't remember what it is, but people say it is. I'm like, it's not that. They put an S on the end. And you know what? I reckon.
no call sign.
Yeah.
No dress up.
Yeah.
No sizzlers.
I'm an
No
enigma.
sizzlers.
That's Joel's.
The
Nice.
enigma. That's my name. The enigma.
The enigma.
The Enigma.
Oh,
That's a
there
good
we
call
go.
sign.
There's a call
That's a
sign.
good call sign.
Mm.
That'll
Actually,
do.
That is quite good.
Yeah.
See, we're solving problems on this
Making
podcast.
moves.
One by one.
My character.
Mm.
It's going to be pretty boring, but I like spy novels,
Yep.
as you know, Ethan.
I do know.
I don't know an exact, but like James Bond would be pretty cool.
He'd be very fun.
Very,
to
very
dress up as.
suave.
Yes.
And I like Daniel Craig, James Bond.
Yeah.
I think he's
Mm.
the coolest James Bond.
Yeah.
I actually watched Casino Royale this week.
Oh, it is a good movie.
Such a good movie.
It's a good
Probably
movie.
my favourite 007 movie.
I think it's got to be up there.
Mm. Totally. It's very good. I haven't seen it in ages actually.
Watch
I
it.
might sit and watch that again.
It's good.
It's a good time.
I don't know if have you ever read the book. The book is
No, I
the book
don't
is
know.
like Casino Royale is the
Is
first
the book,
James
yeah.
Bond book.
Oh, I didn't know
So
that.
that's so they restarted it
Oh,
basically,
That's very cool.
and it's a good book,
Mm.
good one. It's one of those Penguin paperbacks.
There you go. Okay.
So check that out.
Classic.
The Enigma, very suave. That's me.
Mhm. Very
Love it.
Zach, how did you become a Christian?
Thanks for asking, Joel.
You're welcome. Move on.
Where to start? I guess like I was born in a Christian family. So my mum and dad I was blessed to have mum and dad who were pretty into church, and from an early age brought us along week in, week out. Mum was the children's minister at Guymer Anglican Church for 10 years, I think.
Ooh, we've had Tracy on the podcast.
Yes. So like throughout my whole life, it's always sort of been, I've known who Jesus was, I've known what church is about, that sort of thing.
Mm-hmm.
The first time I probably like asked God to forgive me and sort of commit my life to Jesus or like become a Christian was like maybe in like a year 6 or year 7 camp,
No.
like extreme camp maybe or something
extreme.
like that.
Extreme.
Which is one of the camps that Guymer used to run.
Mm-hmm.
And that probably, like, that stretch of life from like early teen or like almost teenager through to sort of being 17, 18 was like one season. And then, had a few years off, turbulent years. And then when I was around 22, I think, or 23, came back to church and recommitted my life and been going since then.
That's rather a short story. So if you don't mind, I'm going to delve into the detail a little bit more.
Yeah. Go for
So when you talked about extreme camp, for example. Well, first of all, like how much you said you grew up in a Christian household. How much like impact do you think that had on you?
Like huge. I think like culturally, it was just like part of life. Like I didn't really know anything else.
Yeah, totally.
And like it was just part of what we did. Like every Sunday, we'd be the first ones there in the morning. We'd be the last ones to leave. Like mum would always be talking with people from church, like her friendship groups are from church. Had like Bible studies and stuff at our house. So all like my brothers and sisters were all going to church as well. So it was just like part of life. It wasn't like a separate thing. It was just life.
Yeah, I think that's it. And you talk about you had some time in the wilderness. I'm just wondering, like, how much that actually impacted you to rethink, like what you were doing.
Yeah.
So that, like, I suppose my question then is, if you made that initial commitment in year 6, is there anything that changed for you at that point in time first?
When I was in year 6?
Yeah, like when you first made that, like actually said.
I think it was probably just like hearing and understanding Bible talks properly, maybe for the first time, or like, maybe like being self-aware enough to go like, I'm being asked to do something here, to respond to something, and me actioning that. Maybe I was probably a little bit more mature than I was in the early years of primary school. I don't know.
As we all are.
Yeah.
Then did anything change though after that? Like, do you think like noticeably change, or that you can remember? Always find it interesting the people that we have on the Chip Lunch podcast, of those that have grown up in a Christian family. And sometimes I think like this is going to be very different for my children, for example, that I didn't grow up in a Christian family, but they are. And there's like, I think of my son who reads the Bible and says that he's up to 2 Chronicles. Yeah. But of like, it can be a lot of head knowledge. That's what people say, a lot of head knowledge. But then there's a real commitment to actually know, oh, Jesus actually saved me. So I'm just wondering, is that an experience that you had from that time?
I don't really remember. Like I was probably a little bit more committed to like friendships in the church and stuff from that point on, maybe. I can't really remember that period of life, to be honest.
That's okay.
It was probably just like a more ownable thing. Like it wasn't just like it wasn't just life anymore. It was like, okay, I've made the call to do this.
Yeah, you took it on yourself. Yeah. And again, that is what a lot of people say that have grown up in Christian families. Like even yourself, like even though you became a Christian when you were pretty young, there's these moments for people that grew up in Christian families that like continually taking on your faith. Sometimes perhaps earlier than like for myself, for example. But then you continually take on. Is that your experience too?
Yeah, I heard a really cool thing yesterday from a guy who grew up in a Christian family. and one of the things he said is his parents sat him down and said, son, you only choose to go to church once. And then every other time you go to church is because of that first choice. And we were talking in the context of that. But I think that's a really cool little moment of, this is me picking to commit my life. And yes, it's Jesus calling me. But when you've grown up in a Christian family, you've actually had Jesus calling you this whole time. And finally you're going, this is mine.
I'm answering the call. I'm picking up the phone.
Yeah. But I thought that was really cool as a little, I don't know, I haven't thought about it massively, but that concept of, you choose to go to church once, and then every other time you're not picking every Saturday, or should I go to church or not? It's, no, I've picked and I'm going. And then, I thought that was really cool.
Because I remember, if I remember correctly from your mum's podcast, that she said that all kids had to go to church until they were 16 and then they could make their own decision. Is that right?
I think it got changed to 18 for me. I think
For you?
Yeah.
Really?
I think it was 16 for Quinn and Kale, but I think it was 18. I think.
Do you know why? Why did the age limit get pushed up? What
I
were
don't
you
know.
doing?
I don't know.
See, the story I heard
Oh.
it was for Tyson that they changed it.
Maybe.
But
Yeah,
I know it changed
I
because
can't
it did change.
Yeah, I can't really remember. Yeah, but it was just like, I think it was just mum's way of being like, no, we go to church sort of thing. And by having that rule in place, and it just means like we could have weeks off here and there when we just didn't want to go or whatever, but it was like we go to church sort of thing.
We just go no matter what, really.
Yeah.
And then so as you go into high school, it was primary school like? You're just having chips.
Having chips. No, I went to Grace Point. It was a pretty small school.
How many people are there? Because you went there too. Like how many kids go?
Like
do you know?
400,
Now,
300, 400.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
pretty small. Like
had
two
about
classes.
60 a grade.
Yeah, 2 classes per
So
grade.
what's that?
Yeah, okay.
I don't know. School's pretty standard, I guess. Like, played sport at Grace Point. Most kids played for Grace Point Soccer Club, so I played for Grace Point Soccer Club. I don't know. Had a bunch of friends there. It was nothing too crazy. Eh?
Okay. And then because you went to Kirrawee after that, right?
Yeah, I went to Kirrawee.
Yeah. What's like the transition going to high school? Were you excited for high school, if you remember?
Yeah, I was. I was pretty pumped. Like, I had a bunch of friends like who didn't go. I had some close friends who didn't go to Grace Point who were going to Kirrawee.
Right.
So it was cool to be able to go to school with them from that point on.
That was before you went to. So you were friends with them?
Yeah,
but
through
not at
soccer.
school? Ah, yeah.
Yeah, through soccer, and like they were Grace Point kids, but they went to St. Cath's, I think.
Oh,
So primary school.
the Catholic school, right?
Yeah. And then played soccer with them through primary school, and then met up with them at Kirrawee.
Mhm.
So that was cool. Like, I was pretty pumped for that. Like I didn't feel stressed out or anything like that. I was looking forward to it.
Yeah.
It's
It's good to know people. The high school I went to, I knew one person.
Yeah, that's just so foreign to me.
Mm.
Like, that'd just be so weird.
Yeah, it'd be so weird.
Like, I went to Kirrawee knowing that my whole grade was essentially going to Kirrawee.
Yeah,
Plus
we all
other-
went
I don't
together.
know.
Like, it was awesome.
Yeah. Well, we found out that I'm an enigma. So
Yeah, that is true.
This is
That
this is true.
Yeah, right. So then when you're at high school, I always find people's stories from high school really fascinating because, as I've said before many times, looking back on it, my high school experience wasn't great, in my opinion. Is that your opinion of your high school experience?
I had like a few different ways of seasons of high school.
Oh,
if that
please
makes
tell.
sense.
Please do tell.
Well, like, I feel like coming into year 7 and 8, it was like dreaming sort of thing. Like, you've got this big group of friends
Mm-hmm.
and no issues at all. And then not that there were any issues really throughout high school. It was
I was
more
going to
just
say,
like
tell us the issue.
different friendship groups, I
Spill.
guess.
Yeah.
And then, so back end of primary school, I started playing field hockey.
Yeah.
And then that became like a huge, like, part of my life, I guess. I just took up a lot of time during high school. And then, so that sort of took me away from that massive group of friends in year 7 and 8, because after year 7 and 8, they sort of become quite tight as a group. And if you don't spend all your time with them outside of school, then you sort of lose those friendships a bit.
Yeah.
And I was always like, I don't know, traveling or doing other stuff.
Because you played rep hockey, right? You
Yeah,
eventually
yeah.
played reps. Yeah. So with the reps, you got to travel a lot more.
Yeah, you got to
Yeah.
travel a lot more, and you're playing like 2 or 3 times a weekend, and
Yeah.
training 3 or 4 nights a week, sort of thing.
Yeah, right.
So it was pretty intensive. So it just means like you just pulled away from those relationships. The only time you have those relationships are when you're at school,
Mm.
and there's only like they can only go so deep at school, I guess.
Mm.
So
Yeah,
then
totally.
it was actually like year 9 and 10 where I was like closest with friends from church, because like I was still going to youth group on Friday nights.
Yeah.
And then I'd go to like chip lunch and what was it called? The Bible study?
Fribbles?
Rivals.
Stibbles,
maybe?
One of those, yeah.
No.
They are both different things that are
Yeah,
both Bible studies.
yeah. But like the student run.
Yeah,
Bible
that was
study.
Fribbles, I think,
Yeah.
on a Wednesday.
Like
Like it was like,
Stables was Friday night, 11 and 12. I
yeah.
think, wasn't it?
Yeah.
You know, Fribbles.
So I was really like close with my friends there from church at that point in time, just because like I detached a little bit from my bigger friendship group.
Mm.
And then like year 11 and 12, I think I played hockey until year 11, and then like burnt out and just sort of like pulled the pin. And then
Just because it was so much?
yeah, I think I got to the end of year 11 and I was just like, it was just like I was training like pretty much every night. I was playing every day of the weekend.
Yeah.
Like I wasn't the absolute elite where I was like, got to
Yeah.
make the Olympics or anything like that. So I was just like burning out, and then I was like, there's actually no point pursuing it any longer. And then started playing soccer again, and that's when I connected with my school friends again.
Yeah, cool.
In year 11 and 12.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
What about, like I know that you were really into music and you play a lot of guitar.
Mm.
When did that start?
Yeah,
Because I mean,
that's-
if you're doing a lot of hockey in
Yeah.
church, like how did you find the time to be practicing guitar as well?
Well, I was playing guitar at church since I was like 13 or
Yeah, you were.
pretty young.
Yeah.
And I just got taught guitar like by the musos at church
Oh,
at the
okay.
time.
Yeah, sick.
Like John Baldwin and Sam Stevenson and
Mm.
Tim Billhart's actually taught me as well.
Oh, yeah, okay.
That's very cool.
And so that was always just another part of my life that was always happening in the background.
Mm.
I probably started on band at Guymer Anglican when I was maybe 15 or 16. And that was just like, that was probably one of the big things that kept me going as long as I did, I guess, towards the end of that sort of teenage season.
Mm.
But
'Cause
then
you played at my wedding.
That's right.
Mm.
I remember that.
Yeah. Me too. Just did.
And like non-church music, like I just did music at high school, like as a subject.
Yeah.
And then maybe year 10 or year 11, probably year 9 and 10, like I became really close mates with the guys we ended up starting a band with, because we're all in the same music class, and we were just like, we were just those, like, just screwing around playing the acoustic guitar while all of the trumpeters were like playing their actual music. Like we'd go and hide in like the practice room.
That's
while
awesome.
all of like the clarinet players go and play their sheet music, we'd go and play like the stupid stuff.
Yeah, awesome.
So that friendship like
That's
just
so
blossomed
good.
in maybe year 9 and 10.
Yep.
And then we started just playing rock, because what would happen was you'd have to play with other people in your class for your performance pieces.
Yeah.
So we just always just play with each other, like for whoever's piece it was. And eventually we're just like, let's just jam anyway, just because it's fun. And then we eventually started a band, and then played all the way through. Probably played our first like gig as a band in year 12, or maybe year 11. I can't really remember. And then played all throughout uni and after uni.
Awesome.
What's the song that you all guys started to jam to all the time? So there must have been one that you used to always play together.
There was a couple. So it was Don't Let Me Down, Beatles.
Mm.
Don't Let Me Down, is that the name of the song? And then
I do like that song.
And like we were pretty heavily influenced by like contemporary psych music, so like Tame Impala and Pond and like Midnight Joggernauts and all those. So we essentially would learn like an album back to front.
Yeah.
Really?
That's unreal.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Band name?
So in year 11 and 12, we were called Leslie Speaker.
Excellent.
Yeah. And then
Well, hang on.
Why?
What's the inspiration for that?
so Leslie Speaker is a rotary speaker that's used in the 60s a lot.
Okay.
And essentially it's like a big wooden box, and the speaker's inside the wooden box and it spins, and there's a hole in the box, so it's like you're only hearing like audio as it goes past the hole, so it's like whoa, 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 whoa. So it's like it was used in the 60s as like quite a psychedelic.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, it's a GIF.
Wow. It's a cool name. I like it. Especially when it's like, oh, it's from this speaker that, Very cool.
Yeah.
And then so that was the first name.
That was the first name. And then in university, I think it was uni, we changed our name to Jaguar Club.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah. So we moved away from
Wow.
we used to sample live cat noises like in our sets.
You actually?
Yeah.
That's so awesome.
So good. And I think we moved away from our garage psych roots.
Oh, into what kind of style?
More like I don't know, like electronic-y sort of rock music.
Okay. Cool. Wow. Ethan, I saw you were writing notes. You got any questions before I keep monopolizing them?
I was just wondering if you talked about wandering off for a while around. We're kind of getting to that part of the story. Was there as you reconnected with those school friends and you reconnected with like started a band and all that kind of stuff, did that line up with the disconnect from church friends and then maybe disconnect from church? Was that?
Yeah, I think it was all like one big perfect storm. Like my really close friends from church, like stopped going essentially, more or less. And then, so I stopped hanging out with them as much. And then, I mean, like I think because of my life being so like church orientated from the get-go, I think it was like there was just a lot of longing for like knowing what life outside of church is. I think sort of maybe the reverse of what a lot of people who've come to Christianity from non-Christian homes experience, where they're like, okay, what else is there to life other than what I'm experiencing right now? I think I've probably had a similar thing where I was like, I've been so like aligned with this way of living for my whole life. What else? What is it out there that's like without Christianity? What does that mean? And I think that probably pushed me along the way. And then the perfect storm of like disconnecting from my church friends, reconnecting with non-Christians, and then sort of that freedom of becoming like an 18, 19-year-old, of just being able to do whatever you wanted, having your license and being able to go on trips and stuff like that. Probably. And
then I suppose if you're playing in a band, are you doing gigs on Saturday nights and stuff like that too?
Yeah, I mean,
on the weekends.
I think by the time I was 18, Soul Revival had planted. So I don't think I was still
2012.
Yeah, 2012.
Yeah. And I think I was 18, 2011. So I don't think I was going to Gymea at that time still.
Yeah.
And I don't think I ever really went to Soli's on a Saturday night at Gymea.
Yeah, if I remember correctly, because you were the year.
Because of hockey. That's right. Because the games were always usually on a Saturday afternoon.
Yep.
Saturday Arvo.
Yeah, that'd do it.
Well, I do remember, because you were the year above that I led.
Yes.
I think, is that right?
Yeah. Because we'd been every other year.
Yeah, exactly. So, I don't remember you being around at Soli's very often. Just to I'm not trying to make you feel bad. I'm just like just corroborating the story.
Yeah. No, it's because there was very often, and when I was like, because when you start Solis in year 11, right? You can start going to Solis.
Yep.
And that was when I was like peak, like playing hockey all the time.
Yeah.
And it was often like a Saturday night game that you'd have to go and play.
Did the intensity of doing so much hockey also play a part in kind of stepping away from church a little bit, do you think? Just because like church is, I'm just saying like church is a lot and hockey's a lot too. That's all I'm reason I'm asking.
Yeah. I wouldn't say that like hockey was the reason. Like I'd say it's all just like a multitude of things. Like it all sort of all added up at the same time. And
It'd be like you must have had to be like with hockey, for example, have to be pretty disciplined.
yeah, I think so. I mean, like,
You're saying training 3 or 4 times a week, right?
Yeah, you're training 3 or 4 times a week. Yeah, playing 2 or 3 games a week.
Mm.
And at the time, I don't know if it was disciplined. It was just like when you get progressively better at something and you're playing with like better and better people, it just becomes like, okay, this is quite cool. Like it's cool to like looking back. Like it's so weird thinking back now because I'm like, that's such a weird period of my life playing field hockey. But like it was cool to say that I was playing at a pretty high level, like pretty elite level of sport. And then I guess that sort of set a lot of foundations for other values in my life moving forward.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. That's cool. And so, like we said, we're kind of talking about the disconnect from church. What also characterised that? Were you just like hanging out with friends that just didn't go to church and things like that?
Yeah, I think so. I think the biggest thing was like I disconnected completely from my friends at church and then connected completely with people who weren't at church. So I just wanted to spend time with people that didn't go to church, really. Not that it was like an actively in my mind, like I need to spend like time outside of church. It was just like, these are my mates. I want to spend time with them.
Yep. And what about your parents? Like, because your mum raised the age level to 18.
Yeah.
And then like once you were 18, you kind of look like to them like you were out in a sense. Did they talk to you about that stuff?
Yeah, they were pretty ruthless. Not ruthless isn't the right word, but like they never got comfortable with the fact that I had left church.
They found it hard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they were always like, they never stopped asking me to come back, if you know what I mean? Like, so like, I think I owe a lot of that to their like steadfastness of making sure that I'm
Perseverance.
Yeah. Totally. Yeah, I reckon they would have been praying a lot. And
What was your response to that, though?
a lot of the time, like, good question.
Thank
I
you.
mean, I think a lot of the like at the start, I can't really remember what it was at the start. I was probably just like, whatever, mum. Like,
Leave me alone, mum. Fire out.
yeah, I got no friends there. It's like I do have friends there. I just chose not to be friends with them.
Yeah. Okay.
But then eventually it got towards the back end of that season. I'd just be like, not yet, mum. It's like
Not yet.
Yeah.
Okay. That's interesting.
Yeah.
And that feeds more into the thing you were saying about trying to see what else the world had to offer in a sense. Yeah.
Yeah, like I think I think deep down underneath, like throughout that whole period, I'd still say that I was a Christian. Maybe if people asked me, I definitely wasn't acting like a Christian.
Yep.
And then throughout that whole time, I became more aware of like, okay, this is the life. This isn't the life I want to live. And then it was about trying to find a way to turn it around, I guess, towards the end of it.
Well, that was going to be my next question was like, what made you stop doing that and then want to come back to church? Like, was there a particular thing or was it a slow process?
So it was probably like, so as I said, like, yeah, towards the back end of that season, whenever mum would bring it up, I'd often say like, not yet. So I think that was like a start, a slowly of me recognizing I actually want to live my life as a Christian, but I wasn't able to, maybe because I was so embedded into my life outside of church. And then back end of uni, probably last year of uni or last semester of uni, like you obviously start thinking about like what career you want to do, what you want to do after uni, and that sort of stuff. And I think probably over a period of 6 to 12 months, I was thinking about, okay, what does my career look like? Therefore, what does my life look like?
Yeah.
And I think a lot of like that sort of way of thinking and trying to figure out, okay, if this is like a turning point in my life now, like which way am I going to go? And then sort of ultimately came to a point where I was like, all right, I'm going to go back to church. I felt on reflection, I kind of felt like I was being called back. And honestly, it was all by the grace of God that I was able to come back, I guess. But
Why do you say that?
oh, it's just like my parents being so persistent, or like
Yeah.
having a lot of connections in the church still from 4 or 5 years earlier that were like,
Yeah, they didn't go anywhere.
yeah, they were still there. They were still happy to be my friend, like even though I had drifted away. Like there were a bunch of other things that sort of happened throughout that sort of year where I was like, it just sort of made me realize that probably wasn't the life I wanted to live.
Do you want to tell us those or not?
I don't know if it was like or anything crazy. It's more just like on reflection, it's like, okay, that's God's hand allowing me to come back, or like helping me, push me in the right direction. Like
He's like saying now's the time.
yeah,
kind
yeah,
of thing.
yeah.
Yep.
Like a couple of my close mates had just got girlfriends, so they weren't around heaps as much. Like a big group of my mates decided to do a Europe trip, so they were not around for like 6 months. So it's just like, okay, I've got nothing else to do on a Saturday night now. For like a 6 month stretch.
Wow. Yeah. Right.
And at the time I was like, okay, whatever. But that sort of comes back to that not yet thing. It's like, okay, now I'm able, like now I have no reason to not go.
Yeah.
And then tie that in with all of the, I guess, the thinking that I'd been doing that 6 to 12 month period. Like a funny story, and I don't know how this all works and whether this is just like a crazy coincidence or whatever. But I was playing in a band, and then during that time there was like a sort of a group of bands, I guess, in the Shire that would hang out all the time and play in a lot of shows. Like Braden was in that group as well.
Oh yeah.
And this one band that
It was a scene.
It was a
Sorry,
scene.
what
That's
they
the
call
word I was
a
looking
scene.
for.
They call it a
Yeah,
scene.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
The
The Shire scene.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there was this one band that was like clearly the best.
Right.
Like they had the biggest following. They were the best sort of band in the scene, I guess. And those guys, and I was pretty close with them. I started playing in another, like a sub band with them. And the guys in that band decided to move out because they all took uni off for the year. They were going to go, all right, for 1 year, we're going to focus on being in this band and try and make it. So they all decided to move out. And the place that they landed on just happened to be right across the road from my house in Grace Point.
Awesome.
So it's
Yeah.
So then like for a 6 month stretch or whatever it was, I was like living in there.
Yeah, totally.
Living like, you know what I mean? Like with them, like really figuring out what this life would be outside of church.
Right.
And I think that really helped me realize, okay, I'm not on the same page as these guys in terms of
Yeah.
I want to live my life. And then, I guess that all sort of led into going back to church.
Wow, that's a cool story.
This is a very cool story.
Again, I don't know if it's like just a massive coincidence or if it's like God literally like bonking me on the head going like, have a look, mate. Like, think about it.
Was one more question about that, because just going back to when you said that your mum was kept asking you to come to church, you're like, I don't have any friends there, but you're like, I do have friends there. What do you think that the friends outside of church were offering you that you didn't feel like you were getting from your friends at church?
Oh,
Or at any other point? Because it feels like that's a big part of it, is that like the friendships were important to you.
Yeah, I think I was probably more, I had like a lot more things in common with my friends outside of church.
Okay.
Like I was in a band with these guys, or I was playing soccer with these guys. I think that was probably the main thing. It's just sort of just like pretty stereotypical. Like I think that's the greatest thing about church, right? It's like you can become friends with so many diverse people because you're not just hanging out with people who like the same things as you.
Yeah.
You're hanging out with people here because we all follow Jesus.
Yeah.
Whereas friendships outside of church, it's kind of like, okay, you all play soccer or you all surf or like whatever. So
Yeah.
And I have one more question, a history question. What's the worst injury you got at hockey? Because I'd be so scared to play hockey because of all those flying sticks.
I didn't actually get injured that much, but probably my worst injury was in my knee. I don't think I ever got it fully diagnosed, but it felt like, I think someone told me, a physio told me that I ruptured like one of the main blood vessels or something that ran down my knee.
Oh my
Goodness.
So it would often fill up with fluid.
The knee would.
Yeah, the knee would.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh.
It was.
Did you get whacked there? Is that why?
Yeah, I think it was in a competition, probably one of my final comps actually. Oh, maybe not. It was maybe my second last year, and yeah, a keeper came out and like clobbered me effectively, like wrapped his stick around my knee, and then like there was like a golf ball on my knee when it happened.
Yeah.
Wow.
And at the time it didn't hurt. I just came off because it was like just a golf ball on my knee.
Yeah.
Wow.
And then from that point on for like maybe 6 months, it was like every time I did too much on it, it would just fill up with fluid, and then it would stiffen right up, and I couldn't run.
Wow.
Would you golf ball again, or would it just would it
No, I
swell?
wouldn't golf ball, but it would just swell up
Yeah,
and then
yeah.
fill up with liquid. Yeah.
This is the thing about hockey. It's like, not only are we going to have you like running around a field where you're likely to run into each other, you know, like soccer
like,
or
yeah.
even rugby league or AFL or whatever, but then we'll add some
Give you-
long wooden sticks.
Give you weapons.
Fiberglass.
They're
Fiberglass,
fiberglass. Sorry,
yeah.
they used to be wooden,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
fiberglass now. Sorry.
Yeah.
But yeah, that just seems.
Still hurt someone with a fiberglass stick.
Yeah, that's why I don't think I could do it.
I think it would be very fun.
It is a fun game.
Yeah, it'd
I
be
think
very fun.
I think it's
Particularly when you're good at it.
I think it's
Yeah.
funner to play than soccer.
Hmm.
Yeah, because there's like more like I think there's cooler aspects. Like you can do like there's a short corner or whatever. There's like a lot of skill based stuff.
Yeah.
But soccer was funner from just playing with your mates sort of thing.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, totally.
There you go. Do you have a question?
Well, my question was only you were talking about when you moved in with one of the things you said when you were talking about
band
not
house.
moved in, but when you were hanging out with those guys and spending a lot of time there, one of the things you said was you realized you don't really want to. You realized you didn't really want to live like them, or make those decisions or whatever for the rest of your life. What was it about church that you were like, yeah, no, I really want to do this? Or Christianity or whatever. But
I don't really know. I think it's like I just had a longing for Christianity, and I think the thing that became clear was that if I wanted to live my life in that certain direction outside of church, I would have to fully let it go, and I don't think I was prepared to do that.
Okay.
Or like I don't think I'd be prepared to fully believe that there was nothing else.
Because that's what you saw other people doing, though, right?
Yes.
Like there was no belief in it.
Yeah, fully. Like they had, absolute, sincere in their beliefs is that like there's nothing else.
Yeah.
They
And
live-
then
they live for
live
today.
and live their life accordingly.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's interesting. Because my theory, one theory that I have,
your theory.
well, is that you spend so much time growing up in community, and as you said before, like diverse group of people all centered around Jesus. But then when you like stepped out from that and wanted to see the other parts of life, you saw that the other parts of life were missing that. And it was only around, we just play in the same team or the same band or the same hockey team. But then like it was almost like you had the longing for that as well. So that's my theory. But I'm accurate, just smarting. But yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Did you come back when we were at the factory, or did you come back to Soul Revival when we were at President Avenue?
Well, I was coming in frequently when we were at PAC.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then when I was like, all right, now I'm coming back to church, we were here, I think.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, cool.
Cool. And was it a relief to finally kind of make that recommitment? Or was it just like, yes, this is what I should have done? Or, sorry, not should have done, just, yes, this is what I want to do.
I don't know if it was a relief. Like it was kind of hard work. Not
Yeah.
hard work, but like when you move friendship groups like that,
Yeah.
like it's pretty tricky because you're not fully connected with church yet, but then like you just want close relationships, right? So I think for that first sort of year, it was kind of like, okay, this is pretty testing. I just have to just commit to it, sort of thing.
And what was your response of friends outside of church?
Probably a little bit confused. Like, again, it was kind of like that period where it was like a grace period where a lot of my friends were away, or not around anyway. So like, I didn't really have to explain anything. Like, in their eyes, I was just, nothing had changed because I hadn't seen them or whatever.
Mm.
And then I think, they were probably a little bit confused at first, but then I think they sort of realized and remembered like where I came from anyway, like from my life as a Christian before. Like, because a lot of my friends would have knew that I was a Christian in early high school. Yeah. Like, a lot of them came to like Sultan, Rev, early days.
Yep. And also you were going to Chip Lunch and all
And
that
Chip
too,
Lunch
right?
and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you lived pretty outwardly as a Christian to begin with.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But they're all sweet. Like, I still have catch up with them all the time.
Yeah, sick.
A couple of them were my mates at my groomsmen at my wedding and stuff. So
yeah.
And like a couple of them have asked a lot about church along the way. So
All right.
that's really
That's
cool.
cool.
It's very cool.
Mm. So then come back to church.
Mm-hmm.
What are you... Oh, actually, this is what I want to ask you. Tell me about uni. Because we've kind of skipped over that. So we've talked about before on Chip Lunches, like, we didn't spend that much time at uni because we spent a lot of time at church and with our church friends.
Yeah.
Was that... you probably weren't at church during uni most of the time.
Nah, so I was at church only really for the last semester of uni.
Yeah, okay. And what did you do at uni?
I was a uni bum personified.
To explain.
Like, I just, like, you'd go to uni, you'd work a couple of shifts of work during the week and then just, I don't know, hang out with your mates, party on the weekends. Yeah. That was like peak non-church time for me. Uni.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yep. Which uni did you go to?
I went to Wollongong.
Yep.
I didn't really embrace Wollongong lifestyle though.
Oh.
Like, I sort of went down there for my classes and came back.
Mm.
I was never really on campus that much.
And what was your course?
It was a Bachelor of Communication and Media Studies.
Isn't that what you have?
It's exactly what I did.
Yeah, there you go. Well, I'm outnumbered.
It's very funny. I also took Zach's job when I started uni.
Oh,
So
That's right.
yeah, so you finished up at the before and after school care,
you usurped him.
and then I was like, for the first term or so, or maybe even longer, they would call me Zach because they just like forgot
Who would?
the kids. They'd just be like, they were like,
We look pretty similar.
totally super simple.
It's like twins.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, I would get it all the time. It was really funny. But
Mm.
yes, there you go.
So then you're back at church, as we said.
Yeah.
Oh, and then
Oh, I have a question on
Go.
that. Back at church.
back at church.
Point.
Back at church. Yeah.
Mhm.
Thank you, woman at the well.
Yes.
My question. I have a question.
Where's the water?
Where's the water? We're talking about living water, but I want water.
That's all well and good, Jesus, but I don't have any water.
Oh, tears. The question was, when people reconnect with church after not being there for a while,
We can cut this out.
write it in.
Yeah,
Write it
No,
in.
do not cut it out.
Okay. Ooh, that can be a really scary thing. Is something I've had conversations with people about. They've been like, "Oh, like I can't go back because like people will, like,
Where have you been?
where have you been?"
Where
Like
have
that
you
kind
been,
of vibe. Yeah. And it's and also that whole, you talked about how it took like a year to properly reconnect and stuff like that. Do you have any advice for someone who would be?
Ooh, great question.
Thank you. Who would be struggling with that?
probably my biggest piece of advice is just to like keep going. Like is probably just the main thing. It's like the biggest thing with real relationships and real connections is like it's really hard to become fast friends with everyone.
Yeah.
If you know what I mean. So like a lot of the time it is just you have to put in the hours, I guess, to build up rapport with certain people. It's probably my main thing. Was that was my experience anyway. It's like I can only have genuine relationships with a lot of people once I've spent a lot of time with them, I guess. I don't know. When people ask like, where have you been? I think a lot of the time they're just genuinely interested. Yeah. Like, where have you been? What have you been up to? You know, like, I don't think there's really that much judgment in it. It seems like a scary thing. But I think people are just interested to know.
I wonder if it might have been a little bit easier for you too, because you kind of stopped going at Gymea Anglican, but then we'd planted Soul Revival, and then you came to Soul Revival as well. I reckon that probably would have helped.
Yeah. I mean, like the fact that I just knew heaps of people is huge. Like I don't know.
It's huge.
I am not envious of people who have made the decision to come to church and not known anyone at church. Like that's so hard.
Yeah,
I
really hard.
like just be able to talk to, you know, a lot of people here that I know, even if there were sort of awkwardish conversations at first.
Yeah.
Like just to have that up my sleeve was helpful.
I think there's something really powerful though about just putting in the time.
Yeah, the commitment and the time.
Yeah. It's like you don't become really close friends with someone after 2 weeks
Exactly.
of seeing them for an hour.
Exactly.
Like that doesn't work.
Yeah.
And so you got to actually
And it's
put in the
it's
effort.
2 ways, you know, like you need to put in the effort as well.
Yeah, for sure.
Like any good relationship, it's 50-50.
50-50.
Welcome to Counselling with Joe.
The enigma.
Just welcome to enigmatic counselling.
Oh yes, I love that.
Just don't be sad.
Have you tried?
Get over
Just
it.
yelling at.
Have you tried being happy?
Yeah.
Give it a go.
Have you tried not worrying? It's just like being the worst counsellor ever.
Oh,
But it's like
these
just
are all
like
things I've said.
pitch like Andrew Tate vibes of like, come on, just get better. Yeah.
Yeah, no. That would. That's not very enigmatic.
So where are we up to in the story? You've come back to
finished
church,
uni.
Zach.
You've come back to church.
Yep. What's work?
So out of uni, I wanted to get into, I guess, the media creative world. So did a couple of internships, like unpaid, and then just wanted a job. So then, no, what happened? I got one job for a brand strategist. So they're people who like think about what a brand's messaging should be and their values and things like that. And then I worked with her for maybe 6 months unpaid. And then I got to the end of that 6 months and she was pretty transparent. She's a lovely lady. She was like, look, I can't afford to pay you. She's just running her own shop sort of thing. Like I'd keep you on, but I can't pay you sort of thing. So how about I make a recommendation to this agency that I've worked for? They might be able to take you on.
That's cool.
So she did, and wasn't in the line of work. It wasn't a brand strategy job. It was like an account management job. An account manager in the creative field is like someone who just talks to clients and like manages briefs and that sort of thing. And then, so I got that job and then I've just sort of worked my way up at a few different agencies in the account service sort of side of things. And then now I work as an account director is my role at an agency called Zephyr.
Hectic.
What's the best part about working in an agency and the worst part?
Best part, it's pretty chill most of the time. Like you're just sort of like hanging around in an office, like seeing creative things happen. That's kind of cool. A lot of good banter. The worst part is probably my worst days are when my clients aren't liking what the creatives are delivering, and the creatives aren't liking the feedback that the client is giving.
Yeah, right.
So then you have to make a call one way or the other to to annoy someone. Annoy one side of the fence.
Yeah, that is a hard thing to do.
And do you usually? Well, that's the thing, isn't it? Like the client is paying money.
Yeah, it
So you
depends
don't
on
want to annoy them
it
too
depends on the client.
But you're also working with the creatives all the time, so you don't want to
Yes,
annoy them too
It's
much.
a balancing act.
Yeah.
Exactly right.
So you just usually choose annoying both of them. Or?
Or do you flip a coin?
Yeah, usually flip a coin. Who's been the most chill today? Nah,
Yeah.
usually it's like, who is the client? What's the bigger picture of the client for the agency? Are they going to be someone we're going to be having long term? Do they bring a lot of business in, knowing that we have them as a client? So do we need to make sure that they're all happy all the time? Are they? A lot of the time, clients are like paying us for our opinion as well. So like they don't mind getting pushed back on sometimes.
Yeah, right.
And sometimes you have to throw the creatives a bone every now and again.
Just imagine you just throwing a bone at
Yeah.
Just shut up.
Faster.
Yeah, faster. All right.
From
So,
your director's chair.
so then, like, how did you get involved in music ministry? That's one question to ask you,
Mm-hmm.
because you're now a Saturday night coordinator.
Yep.
At Kirrawee, should say.
Yep.
So how did that happen? And I'm sure you probably would have been excited to do that once you kind of got more involved in church.
Yeah. So, as I mentioned, I was doing music ministry at Guymer Anglican my whole sort of teen-ish life. And then it took a little while for me to start playing at Soul Revival. I think I was just interested in like getting established in the church. Like I don't want to go up the front and like,
Here I am, guys.
yeah, be this new guy. I'm back, guys. Like, I don't know. I don't even know how long it was, maybe 6 months or 12 months into being back. And then I was good friends with Dan. And then he was like, do you play drums? And I was like, oh, not really, but I can hold a beat, I guess. And he was like, oh, come play drums. We need a drummer for one of our bands. And then I started playing drums on Saturday night, and then sort of taught myself to play drums over the next couple of years playing there. And then eventually started playing guitar as well. I don't know, it was just sort of a natural thing. Like it's a ministry that I've always done and really loved. And yeah, it's just something that gets me stoked.
You talked about being established at church. Like once you came back, is there a moment that you remember you're like, yes, I have achieved the establishment?
I've achieved establishment. Probably, I don't think like there was a clear moment. There was like certainly a time where I was like, okay, I just feel like comfortable.
Yeah, I want to go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know I can just rock up and like there'll be people there who I can just sit and chill with and talk with. It's not like a forced conversation.
Yeah.
Because like when you're first meeting people for the first time, or like it's like, okay, you've got to be on your game, like tightly listening, and like have like 3 or 4 anecdotes in your back pocket to whip out just in case it gets awkward.
Pull out the cards.
Yeah.
Oh, this is boring. So yesterday.
Yeah.
That's not bad.
And then I don't know how long I was into it. There was definitely a point where I was like, okay, I feel comfortable now.
That's nice.
It probably had something to do with serving, for sure.
Oh, serving was like moving into serving in ministry was, yeah. I have heard that from other people too.
I think it's a big part of feeling a part of something.
Yeah.
It's going from feeling included to feeling like you belong. Like that's a really important step to be like, no, I'm not just here and feeling. Yeah, I can't think of a better word than included.
Yeah.
But it goes to, this is my place and this is something I want to give back to and be a part of. And people see that, and people who are also a part of it go, oh, this person's a part of it. Like it actually really helps from that part of things.
Yeah, I reckon that's probably definitely a recommendation if you're just joined a church or just like try get involved with little things. Like,
which is why we say like just do cleanup.
Exactly right.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
It's always a good one just to get the details out.
Yeah,
Totally.
for sure.
Totally.
That's really good.
All right. So you're of course now a married man and you have
Yes.
a lovely daughter.
Yes.
So let's delve into the romantic side.
Love stories
Yeah.
with the enigma.
Only got one. Your courtship of Manda
wow.
was rather long.
I've been sitting on this for ages.
I know.
I was like, I don't. Joel can ask this question.
I feel like Greaves' wedding played a big part in it. Is that correct? Or was it before then?
Greaves's wedding was probably like the like this is happening
Yeah.
moment.
Yeah. Very cool.
Mm.
I don't know. What's a question that I can ask without sounding creepy?
I don't know. I've been looking for
Do
one for ages.
I'll just say it. You just guys kept it secret for a long time
Yeah.
before making it official.
Yes.
To everyone. What was the reason behind that?
I think it was more like we've got a lot of friendships across our families, I guess.
Mm.
It's probably a big thing. Like,
Yeah.
Amanda's quite close with my sister, and our parents, I think we were in a Bible study at the time as
Yeah.
well. So it's kind of like, if this goes pear-shaped, like,
Yeah.
there's a lot of
that's
people
fair.
involved who
Yeah.
are like
Mm.
going to feel quite uncomfortable.
Mm.
Yep.
So we didn't want to go and make a big, huge song and dance about everything immediately.
I do.
And Amanda's like quite a significant part of the church. Like, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like, she's a
She is.
very well-loved member of the church.
Yep. Because as like we were saying before, she's invested so much
So much.
time and commitment and ministry in the church.
Yeah.
And it's also one of our elected representatives.
Yes.
And is an all-round great gal.
Yes. Can confirm.
Can confirm has been on the podcast, listens to the podcast,
Yeah.
every podcast. Which
Has
is
hosted the podcast.
Has host.
Yes, on my
Yeah.
one.
Yeah.
That's right, of course.
Very true.
Very true. She forced herself onto it.
That was awesome.
What was that question I was going to ask you? You distracted me with the hosting thing. I don't know.
Something about. Are we going to fatherhood, or are you staying there?
No, father. No. This. We need to stay on
This
this.
is too
one.
juicy.
okay,
just
sure.
a
This
while
too
over.
juicy.
Sure.
Oh, I remember. So remember when you used to play for Rockets and I coached,
Yes.
and we were standing there with Amanda's sister, Ruben, not Pete.
Amanda's brother.
Amanda's brother. Amanda doesn't have a sister. Amanda's brother. Sorry
Pete.
about that, Pete. And
Shout out to Ruben.
yeah, shout out to Ruben, who we're trying to get on this podcast.
Yeah, it would be very cool.
Yeah. And I remember it was just like, because it was we'd always play at Rockets the last game, and like the sun's going down. I'm just like, are you going out with Manda or not? It was more in a loving way, like just make this official.
Oh,
Like,
yeah.
that was-
Like, it got to a point where, like, everyone knew.
Yeah.
But, like, we just never made it a thing.
that was the memory I had.
Yeah.
Just like,
I think that was a
Speak-
lot of people's memories. It was like,
Yeah.
come on, guys.
Did people find out at Week Away?
yeah,
Was that a thing?
that was a bit of a thing, I think.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, I can't actually remember
'Cause
really.
I remember finding out at Week Away.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think we were roomies that year.
Yeah. That sounds right.
Yeah.
That would do it.
There was
Yeah.
I think there was more of it was made more public at that week.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
Pashing in the breezeway.
yeah.
Is that what it's
Well, it's
called?
very breezy here right now. What a romantic spot.
Yeah.
Oh.
It's just such an iconic area, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's
totally.
definitely where you want to bash.
That's one way to make it
Yeah,
public.
your lips
Yeah,
are all
that's
cold.
one way to
and-
make it
Yeah,
public.
blue.
Yeah, your
Yeah.
lips are cold and blue, so it feels like you're kissing
Yeah.
just
Ice.
like ice. Yeah. Like this, I thought this would have been.
It was
better.
getting stuck.
Yep.
Oh, that's dreadful. I love it.
It would be dreadful. Okay, so then you eventually got married reasonably quickly once you started going out, like compared to other, like my relationship, for example, we were going out for 5 years or so before we got married, but you were only a couple of years, is that right?
Yeah, I think I proposed around about our 2-year anniversary mark.
Yeah, cool.
Very nice. Can you tell us
Yeah, how'd you do it?
proposal story?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, for sure.
I had organized, so like Amanda sort of knew it was coming.
Yeah.
Or like, well, I didn't know how to make this, like, I didn't know how to like not make it obvious that it was proposal day. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? So I was
Mm.
like, hey Amanda, for the next 4 weekends, how about I just organize dates? You know?
4 weekends.
One of it'll happen on
so
one of them.
organized.
Yeah,
That's so good.
So like, And I think it was maybe the first weekend. I just did it.
Oh, that's not bad. That's a
Yeah.
good way to throw it off the
Yeah,
set.
yeah.
I like that.
That's
great.
And then we can keep dating after that.
Yeah. And then so what did I do? I organised a lunch at a place called China Doll in Wollum, in the city somewhere. I can't remember what it was.
Ethan's looking it up.
And so we went in there, had lunch in there, and Amanda is famously allergic to chili.
Yes.
And
And like pepper.
black pepper.
Too, right? Yeah.
Yeah. And I didn't ask when I ordered lunch. I didn't ask for make sure there's no chili in this meal, please. So then the meal came out and
That's gorgeous.
That is a good spot to eat.
It is very
Woolloomooloo.
Yeah, it is
Woolloomooloo.
Woolloomooloo.
I was going to say Woolloomooloo.
It's on the wharf at Woolloomooloo,
Yes,
right?
it's
Yeah.
awesome. And meal came out, had chili in it, and then Amanda's just fuming, absolutely fuming.
At you?
Yeah. or just at the situation. She's like,
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, I can't believe you didn't say no chili or black pepper. And she's like, her mouth is just on fire. Like.
Yeah.
Anyway, so I'm just like, and I've got like this ring in my pocket burning a hole in my jeans.
There's a lot of fire going on.
That's
Yeah.
so funny.
That was funny. And then I think after that we went for a walk through the gardens near there.
Yep.
And then
Botanic Gardens.
yes.
Yep.
And then went to Chiswick, I think. Oh, this is burning time at that point. And then drove back to the Shire, and then me and Amanda used to walk up the fire trail in Grace Point to the Rock. It's affectionately known as.
Cheers.
And I had organised for Ruben and Cassie to take flowers and champagne and stuff on the Rock and candles and stuff.
I like the candles. The candles is a
And-
nice addition.
Yeah. And we walked up there and was there and
Lovely.
yeah,
Great spot.
popped the question.
When you said, let's go for a walk,
Yeah.
was that when she worked it out, or when do you reckon she worked it out?
I
Because you
don't-
just walked around the gardens
Yeah,
at this point.
yeah,
Like, we'll do it again.
And I think I was tracking Ruben on my phone because I had him.
That's a good idea.
Yeah. And he wasn't there yet or something. So I think we made a.
Hang on a sec, Ruben late?
Yeah, I know, it's bizarre.
For context, it's not bizarre.
Yeah. And I think I even detoured to Grace Point via Cronulla for like a swim.
A busy day.
Yeah, because
That's
like,
awesome.
because I didn't have enough
I
time.
guess we'll
Or like
go
wanted to
for a
burn more
swim.
time.
That's
Yeah.
so-
Did you go for a swim?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
That's so good.
And then came back like just like soaking wet hair and
Yeah,
put
awesome.
my nice clothes back on. She's like, why are you walking through Grace Point with your collared shirt on? So yeah,
That's
I don't know. She's a
good.
pretty smart girl, Amanda. So I think she picks it
Yeah,
up pretty quickly.
she is. Just like I always like asking, like whoever's been proposed to, like, oh, when did you know? Because Karen didn't pick it up.
Really?
Well, I don't think she did anyway, but I'd have to check it. We need to get her on the podcast. I keep asking my wife to come on the podcast, and she says no.
I had like booked the way I had booked at the restaurant. I like told them that I was going to propose, and so they wrote prop next to our name, like proposal next to our name
Ethan
on the
prop?
sheet.
Oh, yeah.
And Katie, just as a sticky beak, looked at our sheet to check what table we were at,
How
and
frustrating.
saw it on the thing. And I was like, she still was surprised and excited, but like, she's like, I'm pretty sure that was what prop meant. And
been like
yeah, it was what prop.
Some elaborate thing brought
Yeah, I
out.
was
no.
like,
heaps
oh,
of
that's
money.
cool.
Lightsaber. Star Wars prop.
That's like the one when they put the ring in the champagne.
Yeah. No, it was fine because she didn't. Yeah. Anyway, it was
Well,
fine.
because like
It worked.
for an example, like I know that with Jared and Haley woke up and like Jared had put something on her door, and then she's like, I know it's happening today.
Yeah, totally. Yeah.
It can go the other way though, and I do apologize if I'm retelling stories, but Tim with Tim and Rona, the Atkins, constantly pretended he
shoelace
was
thing?
doing
Yeah.
it and didn't do it. Like he would bend down and do the shoelace thing.
That's so
He's
good.
like, oh, hang on just a sec. He just goes down on one knee. He's like, oh, thanks, just had to tie my shoelace up. And then also, like
That's classic.
when he
So
actually
good.
proposed, he made like she was really angry at him, so she didn't know, which was I thought that was pretty cool.
That's really funny.
Yeah.
I love that.
Right. So then you got married. Oh, can you tell us about how like the threat of bushfires?
Oh, yes.
actual
Your wedding
day?
was
It feels
crazy.
like such a lifetime ago.
It
It's
does,
such
doesn't it?
insignificant.
Because you had COVID after.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Because 2019 you got married, I think. Is that right?
Yes, end of 2019,
Yeah.
end of November 2019.
Mm.
And
That
that
was
was the
wild.
bushfire year.
Yeah.
Where like
Mm.
bushfires all up and down the coast.
Mm.
And from memory, the biggest bushfire in New South Wales, like in terms of land mass, the bushfire, like in terms of land mass that was on fire at the time, was like 5 kilometers from the reception
location.
The location. And a week out, or maybe 2 weeks out, the whole area of the reception had been evacuated because of this fire that was roaring. And then, again, I don't know if this is a God moment or not. Like a week before, or 5 days out, there was like 2 days of random rain,
Mm.
and then that eased the fire a bit,
Yeah.
which meant all of the occupants could come back in for the week.
Yeah.
And we had the wedding, and there was like smoke filled, like in all of the
Yeah.
photos and stuff.
And you could smell it.
You
too.
could smell it
smell
for sure.
Yeah, for sure.
And then we were able to have the wedding, and then it was on this nice farm property. All of our friends were able to camp and stuff there, which was quite cool.
Yeah, it was fun.
It was very fun.
But then like a week or two later, it burnt down.
Yeah.
Oh, did it? I
Yeah.
didn't
I
know
don't know if
that.
it burnt down, but like the fire got all the way
Fire
onto
went
the property.
All the way through.
Really?
Yeah.
Mm.
Wow.
It's wild.
It's crazy, eh?
Ooh.
That is crazy.
But then COVID happened, and it's like the bushfires never happened.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
It's like, like at the time, the bushfires were like, this is a crazy event happening right now.
Mm.
And then COVID
And
was
then
like,
COVID's like, nah, man.
Hold my beer.
Hold my
hold
beer.
my beer. Yeah, yeah.
And then so, like you're married for a while, obviously, but then you have lovely Florence.
Yes.
I always ask people, the parents on this podcast, what has becoming a parent taught you? Like, what has God taught you through becoming a parent?
Well, I'm very early on in the parenting stages. Florence
still
is only
parent?
2. Yeah.
Mhm. That's 2 years.
2 years.
She's more than 2 years old now, so it's still a while.
Yeah. True. What has God taught me through becoming a parent? I think patience is like the number one thing.
Mhm.
It's
Mhm.
like you've really got to dial that up, and like,
Yeah.
and make sure that's a priority. Probably one thing, I don't know if, probably one thing is like, it makes you really realize how like innately selfish you are.
Mm.
Mm.
And when you have kids, it's kind of like, okay, it's no longer about you.
Yeah.
It's like, it's all about them. So just trying to focus on like, loving them as best you can,
Mm.
is probably a big thing.
Them, that includes Manda?
Yeah,
Obviously,
absolutely.
yeah.
Absolutely. And just family life in general.
Mm.
I forgot what I was going to say.
Do you think it gives you, this is a question that I'm more like ask about dads because I'm only a dad, haven't been a mum.
Really?
Yes. Yeah. Not yet.
Not yet.
Title of the podcast, I think.
Yeah.
Not yet?
Not yet's cool.
Okay. Do you think it gives you more purpose?
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I think so too for me.
I think it makes you think about like, really think about, okay, what are the values that I want to live by that my family, both Manda and Florence included, can see and be brought up in and around that, so that influence their life. Like whether my mum and dad did this super proactively, but like them making me go to church and making church a big part of our life has easily had a massive influence on my life.
Yeah.
and
Totally.
Yeah.
set that foundation. So just thinking about those sort of things, like, okay, what are the things in my life that are like non-negotiables?
Mm.
you
Yeah.
know?
The priorities. Mm.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
really
it's
cool.
cool. I think that, like, for me, it was a similar thing of I got to knuckle down. Like, I got to figure out stuff now,
Mm.
not just like, oh, it'll happen one day.
Exactly.
Yeah, because you've got so much more responsibility, I think. Any questions before the final question?
I have
Ethan?
no questions before the final
Do you want to
question.
ask the final question?
I
mate?
can ask the final question.
Mm-hmm.
The final question
Mm.
is, what do you...
It's not a game show.
What do you
Come on
know now?
down.
For $100, because that's where we're at now. We've gone from 1 million to 100. What's
Mm.
that game where you go down when you get questions wrong? Is it every game ever?
Are you
But
talking
there's
about Who Wants to Be a Millionaire?
Maybe I am.
Or what's the one with the gold briefcase?
No, the Chase.
No, that's
the Chase.
The Chase.
Oh.
Chase is excellent. But no, gold briefcases that's Deal or No Deal.
Deal or No Deal,
That's
that's right,
a different. Yeah.
I just saw a meme on that, and it's like when you get a pay rise, and like and it was like someone with the gold case and it opens as $5, and they're like, yes. That's why I was thinking of that.
What do you know now that you wish you knew when you were a younger Christian?
I think the biggest thing that I'd probably like to understand or have like be self-aware enough is like the coolest thing is actually just owning Christianity.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, the most like just being so self-assured and confident in your faith and owning it rather than trying to like make it palatable to other people is probably a big thing that I wish I knew back then. I think that's heaps more like from an outsider's point of view, like people who are that self-assured, you're just like, okay, like that's actually way cooler than anything else.
Oh, okay. So
Click
being
that.
like yourself, like in like the identity that God's given you, rather than saying, oh, you should do this, you're just going to live it out a bit more. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, and just owning it, you know,
Yeah,
like
okay.
owning your faith heaps more and publicly and with everything you do.
Well, that's the thing. When you came back to church, you did that. I think that's cool. Well, it's been lovely.
It's been splendid.
Has it been lying in a white and pink blanket?
So cold, man.
Are you?
I'm so
Are
cold.
you still cold?
I've been freezing the whole time.
That was funny because at the start you're like,
I
just
don't know if I
before,
need it.
Yeah.
you were like, oh, we'll see how it goes, and then I might halfway through the podcast I might get one. I'm like, no, why don't we just get it now, just in
It's
case?
so cold for so long. This thing has holes in it. It's not a real blanket.
You asked for the holy
I picked
blanket.
it because it was funny looking and I could make a joke about the jokes we've made, but it's so cold.
Okay, well, that's a good time to finish the podcast, though. Then, if Ethan's very cold, thank you, Zach, for coming on.
Thanks for the invite.
It's been really fun.
It's been very, very cool.
As always, when we get people on here and you hear about their story and how God has worked through their story, always leave feeling greatly encouraged.
Yeah, totally.
And that's the same today.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. But I think, like, first of all, I'm really glad that you came back to church, which is really, really special. I think you serve the thing that I've, like, as I've got to know you a lot, like, longer, especially when you've come back to church and, like, being friends with Manda and stuff like that, is just like, when you commit to something. And I think that's really, really special and really helpful at church. Like, as you said, like, when you once you got into ministry, you're like, oh yeah, this is it. That was cool. But I think also, like, I think something that I respect about you is that I think you may not be as apparent to some people, but I think you think really deeply about stuff. I think as we've gone through the podcast, I can see you doing that more, as you probably got more comfortable listening to a man in a white and pink blanket ask you questions.
What do you mean?
And then an enigma.
This aesthetic gives off deep thinking.
Yeah.
More than anything else.
Really puts me at ease.
Really, yeah. Really gets the mind working.
Yeah.
Just like my counselling.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think, that's it. Thank you for being on the podcast. It's been really, really good. I've been trying to get you on for a long time. So
Yeah,
it's
I
been
know.
good to finally get it on there. So
Yeah, it's been really cool, man.
cool. Thank you for everyone listening and or watching. Throw a comment in the YouTube.
Yeah. Do all of those things.
In the YouTube. Just in the YouTube space.
What's the thing they say now? They're like, I don't think they say this on YouTube, but they definitely say it everywhere else. But it's like, you don't even need to like it. You just need to hit the share button.
Oh,
But I don't know if that's
really?
like, because the algorithm's like, oh, they like this. It's shareable content.
Yeah.
Now, I don't know if that's a YouTube thing. It might just be an Instagram thing. But
Well, even if you don't see it, this is shareable content. So
You should
feel
also like it as
sharing.
well.
Yeah, you should like it. Smash the subscribe button.
We got a sponsor yet? You know how podcasts always end.
I
with a
would
sponsor?
love to go to Jimmy's and be like, hey guys.
This podcast is brought to Jimmy's whether he likes it or not.
Yeah.
And also Linkcraft because of the blanket and Thrills.
I'm a spotlight man.
Thrills 'cause
Corduroy as a fabric. in general.
And green jumpers and jackets.
Yeah.
But yes, thank you very much. We always finish with one way. So if we do that, one way.
One way.
One way.